Shahid, welcome to the Hindu.
Thank you.
So, Shahid, I'll begin with this. 20 years officially done, and Ishq Wish released in May 2003.
Yes.
And I was going through it. It was a massively prodigious year, 2003, for Hindi cinema. We had Koi Mil Gaya, Kal Ho Na Ho, Baghban, Munna Bhai, Chalte Chalte. Among these massive releases, right?
And we had, I think, 2 or 3 years of complete drought before
Right,
that.
right. And
I remember there was a film of Akshay Kumar and I think Priyanka and Lara called Andaz.
Yes.
And Ishq Vishk.
Yes.
These were the first 2 films, out of which Ishq Vishk was a nothing film.
Right.
Because
Right,
it didn't
right.
have any, it was newcomers and all, you know. And these 2 films, after 2 years of just flops and flops and flops, came and kind of broke the jinx. And then after that, the rest of the year went really, really well. So it's cool that you remember that. I remember it because, you know, I hadn't been launched yet, or I hadn't made my debut yet. And everybody was like, this is the worst time for any actor to come because no film, star ki film nahi chal rahi hai, to newcomer ki kya chalengi? And we were just like shitting in our pants. We were like, please release kar do, please, humne bahut kaam kiya hai. But yeah, so that's right.
But it surprised you over the years because all these other films are also classics and people love them. But
Of course.
Ishq Wish grew its own cult over the years. And
There was
even
no
that
film of its type. You know, I think we presume that the same set of people go and watch different types of films. That's not the case, actually. As you do more work, you realize that a film is like it's a product out there, right? There is a different TG for each type of film. And I think Ishq Vishk was a film that came after very long for the younger lot, for the, you know, the school and college going kids and the kids in their 20s. And it was starring actors who looked that age, and it spoke the language of those people, and it was just an unassuming, non-filmy kind of fun college romance, you know. And I don't think people had seen that for a very long time. The average age of people doing college romances was 48 or 50, you know. So it was just real guys looking the age, and it was a nice film, so people just lapped it up.
Flash forward to Bloody Daddy. You're in your 40s doing an action film, full out, you know, gory action, sleek action movie.
Yes.
I'll begin with, what are the action franchises did you grow up with? And don't give me the broody ones, like the really unbridled ones.
Action franchises. Let me just name the films that I really, really enjoyed. So I mean, I think action is a very broad genre. You know, you can say that Goodfellas is a film that falls in the category of action. So is Inception. So is Mission Impossible. So is Scarface. So is, you know, so there's so many within the world of action. There are so many films. There are action dramas. There are, you know, out and out action capers. There are, you know, action adventure films. There's so many, right? There's so many different type of films that you can watch. So it's very difficult to name lot of pressure. God.
Give me the bang for buck. The, you know, the ones we loved in childhood.
Too many. Mission Impossible 2. Okay. Just for that nose wheelie of that, or you know, with Tom Cruise on it. So that was amazing, and John Woo just killed it in that one. Although I still have a very kind of, I have a soft corner for the first one, which was made by Brian De Palma. I didn't do that well. So of course, Mission Impossible is a franchise which was absolutely outstanding. I think Terminator is a film that was just very powerful and impactful. Saving Private Ryan.
Sure.
It's more a war film, but yeah, it is
an action war film. Sequences.
Spectacular. There are too many, man. Like I loved Speed. I remember Speed came out, you know, and it was one of the first films where Keanu played an out-and-out action role, and most of it was in one bus. You know, and it was super bloody cool. Kill Bill. The list is endless, dude. We'll be sitting here all day. Dark Knight. There's just too many. There's too many. Yeah.
What is the toughest gig or setup or set piece for you on Bloody Daddy?
All of it was very tough. It's very difficult to name one, but let me think. Yeah, you know, it's difficult for me to just name one because it is the progression of the character. Because the entire film travels all of one day. You know, it's largely Ek Raat Ki Kahani, and that's how the teaser starts, right? So it starts in the day, and then it's all about what happens through the night, and it's kind of almost like a minute-to-minute kind of, you know, it moves very much you know, consecutively, and, you know, it moves in flow almost, like I said, minute-to-minute. So to be able to create the progression of mood, because it's in a very real space in terms of the way the story tells itself, the character, his motivation, the urgency and emotion with which he needs to do what he needs to do, and the series of incidents that he has to deal with, the toughest thing for me actually was कि 5 मिनट पहले कुछ हुआ, 5 मिनट बाद ये हुआ, फिर ये हो गया, फिर वो हो गया. वो आंखों में, वो पर्सनालिटी में, वो बॉडी लैंग्वेज में, वो कंसिस्टेंट रहना चाहिए. वो ऐसा नहीं लग, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट लाइक 3 days later this happened, or next week this happened, or tomorrow this happened, or next morning. None of that. It's all pretty much happening. So for me, what was exciting, because I have not done a character like that, where from the beginning of the film to the end of the film, there is so much that happens to this character, and all of it happens in a very limited period of time. You must be able to feel that as a very kind of believable a journey for this character, where I can hold on to as much and kind of simultaneously allow various things to kind of come through in the performance.
That would also include, let's say, his tiredness towards the end of it, like a
Not just towards the end. Actually, it's like in a game, like sometimes you're tired maybe in the middle of the game, but you can't give up. You got to get up. You got to keep going. That doesn't mean that the exhaustion from the past won't show. So while you are maybe very aggressive, or there is a sense of acceleration in your kind of movement, there will still be a heaviness from the tiredness that you might have felt in the first part, which should stay. It should not suddenly कि अब सब मैं फिर से ठीक हो गया, like because in a film like this, it's just not like that.
Right.
It's a little like it has that kind of a flow. So you have to be able to do that. So that was fun and challenging, and I hope I've been able to get it right to some
I was
degree.
quite taken with the flamethrower. Like, it's not the old school flamethrower of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That
So
purana
was
wala.
I when I saw Leo holding it, but it was fun.
No, but this is a machine gun flamethrower that
Yeah,
you've got.
there is a reason for it. When you see the film, there is it's
Does it exist?
It's
It's something.
justified.
Does it exist? Like, did Ali come up with it? Like a flamethrower of that nature?
तो कहाँ से, वो situationally होगा ना, वो picture ही situational है, तो see it.
So they had a massive success earlier this year on OTT with Fuzzy.
Yeah.
But when an action movie or action feature, with a major star, major director, goes directly to OTT, the first assumption is that maybe it didn't turn up to the mark, or maybe
Why
they
do
will
you
not
guys
take
still
us.
feel like that? Why do people still talk like that? It's like, why does everybody has a negative assumption in the beginning? Like everything is like worst case scenario. Why do we think so negatively? This was always meant to be for OTT, right from the beginning, from the time we conceived it. And we should not think that things that don't do well go to OTT. ऐसा नहीं है. OTT has its own brand value. OTT has its own, there's a period during COVID where films needed to release because theaters were shut, and they came out, and there was a kind of feeling that everybody had कि अभी यार OTT को grow कराते हैं, क्योंकि theater तो बंद है, तो this is a time for it to kind of, there is no competition, so that did happen. So that is over now. That phase is over. Those 2.5 years are gone, and they have actually pushed everything into a slightly negative role in terms of momentum as it was pre-COVID and where things are today, right? So being quality conscious is something that's top of mind for, I think, everybody right now. Nobody wants to put something, I'd rather not release something than release something that I think is substandard, right? So firstly, I feel like, people should not think like that, कि अरे यार अच्छी नहीं बनी तो OTT पे डाल दिया. नहीं. Certain things, and I have, like you said, I have debuted on OTT and I've done Fuzzy, which was, it was not like वहाँ नहीं करना तो यहाँ कर लो. That was not. It was very much meant for OTT, and this is no different. We always wanted to build a OTT franchise for an action film, because this film is of a certain nature, and it lends itself, I feel, slightly more to the digital platform. There is a certain amount of language in the film. There is a certain amount of brutality in the film, and it doesn't have songs and heroine and suddenly something. None of that is happening in the film, and we didn't want to end up getting into that kind of a setup, because we felt we wanted to stay pure, because this film is of a certain nature, and we felt that will land very well on OTT, and we'll be able to make it at a size and scale, because it's Ali and it's me. We won't compromise on the size and scale of the film, and it'll be a first of its kind for OTT. Like if you see Extraction, it was a first of its kind, and you can, when you look at that film, you would not look at that and say कि अरे यार ये theater में डालनी तो यहाँ डाल दी. No, it was meant for that, and I think after Martin Scorsese chose to put Irishman as a original Netflix kind of film, I think that debate should end, because if there is anybody who knows quality,
Fair enough.
it's Scorsese,
That makes me think, Shahid, you've never shied away from doing material that's edgy and that's, that's pushing the boundary in a way. Like the older generation of stars, they had this moral baggage in terms of, being a social, idol.
But
as
they also
such.
grew up in different times.
Right, right. Your generation has been liberated from that. You don't feel that weight of every film. You know, let's say for Urta, where you're playing a cokehead,
Yeah.
or Kabir was beaten up in the press for how
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was,
for
or
sure.
let's say this film has brutal violence in it, right? It never weighs on
But
you,
तू
right?
ऐसा जॉन विक का के लिए क्यों नहीं सवाल पूछता?
Right.
जब हम वो वाली फिल्म देखते हैं तो हम ब्रूटल वायलेंस है ऐसे नहीं बोलते सब हिंदी एक्टर्स के साथ ही ऐसा क्यों होता है?
Right. No,
If a
but because there's
sequence
a
is
generation that has made it the point कि हम लोग, you know, we'll mollycoddle the audience. We'll always be like
अरे
कि
यार
थोड़ा
शाहरुख
बचा.
खान threw शिल्पा शेट्टी off the roof in बाजीगर.
True.
What are we talking about? People loved him in that film.
Fair enough.
So I think these are just terms that are like online में अभी ये famous हो गई हैं. But ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है यार. If something is justified, if it is done aesthetically, and if it works and if it adds value and if it gives you a new experience, you can do it in a manner which is, if it's done badly, like for me it's more about quality or caliber. If you're doing shoddy work, if you're doing a acting badly and the lighting is bad and the you're doing some song which sounds terrible, or it's not well done, that whatever you should do it with a certain quality and with a certain finish and finesse. But yeah, I feel like if something feels right, then you should do it. Why should you shy away from it?
Shit, 3 years ago, you were on a round table of actors, and there's a lovely moment I still remember. Ranveer Singh was talking about a scene in Gully Boy where his character folds a napkin in a very plush washroom and keeps it aside.
Yeah.
And there's a very specific moment. You look at him as he's talking about that, and you ask him, "Ki तूने क्या है किया? Like, have you done this for real in life?" And later he answers that question and says that, I have been through an experience like that. I love that moment because it also shows that actors draw so much from life and real life, real experiences, especially our past. Let's say the early
I could
days.
just feel it when he was saying it.
Right, and it showed how perceptive you were, to another actor's craft in that sense. He probably drew it from. Have you ever had? Do you remember a specific moment for any of your films, let's say, where you took something from life and put
A
that?
lot. But I think it's very personal, so I don't know how much I'll be able to talk about
Something.
it. So many things, man. It's very difficult. Like if you have to, like say in Farzi, Sunny was very close to his Nanu, and I was very close to my Nanu, and I lost him when I was a teenager, and it was a very difficult thing for me, because I was very, very close to him. My parents had not been together, so he was like a very strong father figure in my life. Simply because I was living with him for the first 10 years of my life. And, that scene in the last episode where I hear that my Nanu's not there, I remember I spoke to Raj and DK about it. And they were like, "So I'm guessing you'll break down." And I said, "I don't think so. It's too big and it's too soon. It won't happen now." And I remember why, because I remember when my grandfather passed, I didn't cry for almost a day and a half, because I had to take care of my grandmother and my mother, and I was the elder son in the family, and so. And then much later, something of his I had, and it was his watch actually, And I when I was in his room, I saw his watch, and I just broke down, because he wore, the very typical watch he used to wear, and
Of the time.
And it had aged with him, and a lot of men at that time would wear the same watch for years, like he was one of those. And it was such a strong kind of visual for me, and such a strong association that I just broke down, because the only thought in my head was, who will wear this watch now? And I just, so actually, if you remember that scene, it's Firoz who's crying, and Sunny actually has no reaction, because I don't think he's processed it completely, So things like that, it's very personal, and
Anything else?
I don't know why I have to know. Don't even try. ये एक बता दिया मैंने तुझे.
ठीक है. Did you like the Apple iPhone film that Vishal did with Ishan?
I love Vishal sir. Ishan is the love of my life. I love him. मेरा छोटा भाई है. So I was very happy to see that they collaborated, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes.
Have you become the old horse now, and he's like the favorite for Vishal right now?
I'll give him a run for his money. Old horses don't give up easily. But I'm proud of Ishan, and I'm very, very happy for him, and I'm kind of really excited to see what he brings to the fore, because I think he's a very, very, very talented actor. Very, very talented.
Have you and Vishal spoken after Rangoon for any project? Has anything ever
We
come
keep
up?
meeting once in a while.
But a project?
Yeah. I'm still waiting. There's something we discussed, but he has to write it.
Great. Thank you, Shahid. All the best for Bloody
Cheers,
Ready.
man. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you.